From making his most loyal employee pay rent?
Hold on, this ain't no hotel, boy.
Here's my first month's rent.
Rent? Okay. Well, let's get ready for the customers.
To blackmailing his employees.
No thanks.
Now what?
I don't know, Patrick. Mr. Krabs said if we didn't find customers not to come back.
Today, I'll be going through every instance where Mr. Krabs stole wages and otherwise screwed his employees, and what better way to start than the time we get a look at just how selfish Krabs is in the episode One Course Meal. One Course Meal starts with a big ol' fight between Plankton and SpongeBob and Krabs. I'll show you because it's gonna lead me into, once more, proof of serious wage theft. SpongeBob really needs help, even putting aside he's apparently a literal soldier in a restaurant war.
Fire! Take cover!
Debated whether your boss using you as a human shield despite paying you what might be pennies a day should be counted as wage theft, but we'll skip over that horror for now. Seems Plankton's bomb didn't work, right? Well, the guy may be incompetent, but he's also an evil genius, so...
It didn't go off! Another dud, Plankton.
A dud, huh? Just give me the secret formula and I'll be on my way.
You ain't getting it.
Eventually, Plankton does at least learn where Krabs hides the formula, and if this vid were about that sort of thing, I'd give you the deets. Instead, though, let's cut to a little later because we learned something important about how Krabs pays SpongeBob. It's also important that you get to see how Mr. Krabs tries to help treat his daughter Pearl after she helps pull them out of Plankton's trap. It's what the kids call a big oof.
Give Plankton a scare.
Double my more money.
Your turn to chip in, boy.
There you go, buy yourself something pretty.
Hey, this isn't money.
No, it's even better. This is what Mr. Krabs pays me with.
Yeah, pause. Alright, this implies at least by this episode of Season 7, Krabs literally doesn't pay SpongeBob actual money and tried to get him to give his daughter some cash. What? Is SpongeBob only costing Krabs whatever ink and paper it takes to print this fake cash? Other episodes contradict this, by the way, so it's probably just a bit, but like, it's at least canon to this episode. Nobody's just imagining this or anything like that. This was a short one, and I'll only ding Krabs once, but like, how long has SpongeBob been getting paid fake money? I'm honestly kind of fuming mad at this capitalist crustacean, but this episode isn't about his being a scam artist and whatnot, so let's move on. He's only kind of the bad guy in this next one. The episode New Digs starts with SpongeBob having a little trouble sleeping, so after getting himself some warm milk to help, he sleeps a little too well and realizes in a panic he might be late to work. I can understand the feeling, but I worry about how much he panics, I gotta say. I've met people that would be upset with themselves if they weren't at least a minute late to work, honestly, and I've never met a boss who'd cared super much. But SpongeBob is beside himself about this whole thing.
Hey, SpongeBob!
I was a minute late for work.
A minute late?
A whole 60 seconds.
Even the king of greed himself, Mr. K, can't be bothered by this whole thing, but it does lead into that clip I showed off a little bit ago where SpongeBob starts living in the restaurant and paying rent just so he can never be late again. Squidward is ecstatic, of course, because that means the sponge won't be living next to him.
Sweet dreams, SpongeBob. You look so much comfier here than in your old home.
Won't you miss me living next door, Squidward?
There's some growing pains with the arrangement because frankly SpongeBob is a terrible renter, but it mostly works out for everyone involved for a little while. Eventually, Mr. Krabs realizes SpongeBob has moved a bunch of stuff into his office and there is a little back and forth there, but well, let's check out how he deals with the news.
Please, Mr. Krabs, I won't get in your way, please.
Oh, but I'll have to raise your rent.
Oh, thank you, Mr.
Yeah, dude just says he'll start charging more. No paper trail for all this, by the way, presumably so he doesn't have to report the income and SpongeBob can't take him to court if there's trouble. Anyway, the real tipping point is that the bunches of chaos that led up to all this mostly stems from Mr. Krabs' toxic masculinity.
Who put these fancy-smelling soaps in the restroom?
The same person who knitted these napkin holders and embroidered the menus.
But things really fall apart once SpongeBob just starts taking things way too far. The guy's just too openly gross and also, like, doesn't seem to really do his job right during work hours anymore. I can't believe this episode has me mostly on Mr. Krabs' side.
Thanks, SpongeBob. If I can reach, I'd do it myself.
Yeah, so that's the last straw, and SpongeBob has to go back home. Thought about counting him getting evicted with no due process as one more theft for the road, but I don't know. We'll throw Krabs a bone here. SpongeBob was a bad tenant. That means our final theft count this episode is 2, assuming we count the clip from the start of the video. Making your employees pay to sleep at their place of work and randomly upping their rent with no negotiations is no bueno, although I admit, Krabs has done way worse. Speaking of way worse, this next episode's about self-destructive cost-cutting that severely hurts both an employee and the business he works for. Hope you're excited. You can probably guess the core idea of what happens in the episode SpongeBob, You're Fired, but let me play a short little snippet of it just as a refresher. It's also going to help us talk about Krabs stealing wages, so pay no attention to some of the calculating here.
What's a good word?
Well, actually, SpongeBob, there's 2 words, and they're not very good. You're fired.
On account of the fact SpongeBob really does seem like the perfect employee most days, besides the fact he's really annoying to Squiddy, surely there's a good reason for this, right? I mean, come on now, my dear viewer, it's Mr. Krabs.
Well, you see, I've been doing some calculating, and it turns out that I'll save a whole nickel if I cut your salary.
How about if I work for free?
Apparently, it's illegal.
Mr. Krabs claims he'll save a whole nickel if he cuts SpongeBob's salary. He also claims he considered getting the guy to work for free, but he didn't do that, so it doesn't count. Now, the whole nickel thing can mean a couple things, like he might be calculating how much the dude costs versus making him in profit, but some people think that means that the sponge is literally just getting paid pennies. Regardless, Krabs doesn't pay a lot, but I ain't gonna count every normal workday SpongeBob has over the course of the show, or we'd be here forever, so let's count overt theft. Like shortly after he's fired, where Krabs really shows his true colors.
Here, I'll get that for you.
I'll also need the hat. Allow me.
So you might ask why that counts, and I'll tell you. SpongeBob owns his spatula. Mr. Krabs straight up stole that, and it isn't like he intends to pay it back or give the guy a replacement. As you can imagine, things are a complete disaster without SpongeBob around, so eventually Squidward literally abducts SpongeBob so that the Krusty Krab can hopefully get him back.
I'm never eating here again.
Wait, come back! Squidward, you found him!
Squidward?
I'm afraid so.
Right away, the dude fixes like every problem the restaurant was having. He even gives Krabs and Squidward some new duds, although Squidward likes his a little less than Krabs for reasons that may become clear. But with his rehiring, this episode's going to end by bringing us back to a question worth asking.
The Krusty Krab is back in business!
Well, SpongeBob, it looks like things are back to normal. And to make up for that extra nickel I was losing, I installed a pay toilet.
Oh dear. Where is...
So a pay toilet charging a nickel will make up for SpongeBob's cost to Krabs, right? Well, I guess that means that maybe he is costing Mr. Krabs specifically a nickel a day in wages, which is abysmal. I should count every day SpongeBob works as theft, but you'd all call me a cheater and I feed off praise and people smashing the like button, so I'll hold off on that. There are 2 examples of theft this episode that I'd say would be hard to argue against, though. I think next we ought to show off the worst of Krabs that we get to see in the episode Graveyard Shift, and let me tell you, I do at one point have to argue that a vampire is being taken advantage of. The episode Graveyard Shift starts with everyone who works in food services' worst nightmare, a customer who can't take a hint. And do not worry, my dear lab mem, it will get even worse soon enough. Sorry, that's a reference to no one's ever gonna get that.
I'll have a Krabby Patty Deluxe and a double chili kelp fries.
You won't. I can't hang out here all night.
Well, fine, if you don't want my money.
Money? You mean...
This is a season 2 episode, so all the unks in chat probably already know what's up. Wait, does talking like that just make me sound older? Whatever. Krabs is going to once again find a new way to exploit his workers. Yippee.
From now on, the Krusty Krab is open 24 hours a day.
Wow!
Yeah, I was on the fence because the details are a bit fuzzy, but this is one of several examples of Krabs trapping his employees in eternal toil, and he doesn't even say a word about paying them extra. Congrats, Krabs. Another point for the exploitation tally. Also, fun fact about this episode, we see that crowd of people pile in early on, but then, as far as I can tell, we see this one guy is the only real customer. Squidward has a request for the fella, too.
Here, please hit me as hard as you can.
Squidward, I'm working in the kitchen. At night.
Don't hold back.
Classic SpongeBob enthusiasm, combined with classic Squidward... I think the word I was going to use may give me demonetized. Let's say instead troubling sadness. Crushing ennui, perhaps? Dude really should talk to someone. Anyway, that customer doesn't off Squidward at his request, so the episode continues. This is the famous hash-slinging slasher episode, so eventually the pair will meet a strange and sinister stranger later that night.
The hash-slinging slasher!
Get away from me! Oh, he's gonna flip me! Get away! Get away! Get out of here! You're not welcome here!
And as many of you likely know, this episode doesn't end with the pair getting brutally murdered. Turns out that was just some nerd. But see, a question arises this episode that is 100% with zero doubt just a joke. But let me play you something and I'll talk about it real quick. Should I count Nosferatu for this thing?
If that was you on the phone and you on the bus, then who was flickering the light?
Nosferatu!
Now listen, okay? Just listen for one golly gosh darn second, okay? Real quick, here's a clip from a much later episode proving he at least eventually has a job at the Krusty Krab.
You got the job, kid.
But those receipts aside, the show really gets weird sometimes in some later seasons, like even weirder than it already was. And the canon of this episode is especially murky. I'm gonna say he doesn't count for my Krabs theft list, especially because the few times he's mentioned, we don't know what, if anything, he's getting paid. With a final theft count of 2, it's not as bad as I was expecting. Until you remember, nothing in this episode implied the night shift ever ended. So who knows how long they had to deal with this nonsense. Alright, time for a form of exploitation I don't think I've gotten to talk about yet. Pay to work. The episode Big Pink Loser is basically about Patrick realizing he's kind of a useless bum and trying to do a bit more with his life by getting a job, which definitely doesn't hit me close to home. So after talking with his pal SpongeBob, he ends up working at the Krusty Krab, and basically the moment he does, we learn something pretty important.
And at $50 an hour, too. When I started working here, I had to pay Mr. Krabs $100 an hour. Hey, Squidward, guess who just got a job?
That's right. You have to pay during your training at the Krusty Krab. I'm gonna say that's 2 instances of wage theft, one for Patrick and one for SpongeBoy. Maybe Squidward also had to do that, but I don't know if that scam would work on him, and it isn't stated he had the same deal. Fun fact for you, again, if SpongeBob had to pay $100 an hour for training and really does get paid a nickel a day like that one episode sort of implies, that'd be 2,000 days of work to pay off 1 hour of training. Patrick doesn't exactly do great in this new position, as you might guess.
Pick up order! No, you have to take the tray to the customer.
Okay.
He's hoping to get an award celebrating his achievements. Not quite sure that that's the path to meet that goal. Our boy might not be cut out for anything where he has to handle food and not scarf it. The next day, Patrick is back, and, well, you'll notice he has new threads. I'll also remind you that he's still paying $50 an hour whenever he's working there, so I'm gonna have to count at least one more example of wage theft. SpongeBob's terrible wages are one thing, but Patrick is actively getting robbed whenever he's on screen and inside the Krusty Krab.
Well, back to the old grind.
Well, back to the old grind.
Forgot my hat.
Me too.
Guy knows he sucks at the job, so he's copying someone who's better at it. Problem is, Patrick is stupid. Controversial take, I know, but also nobody's actually training him. Worse, SpongeBob's kind of a jerk about all this, honestly, but how's the guy to learn then?
Aha! You're copying me!
So naturally, things escalate, and then SpongeBob, and no other way to say it, a terrible darkness emerges from this boy. He really responds to Patrick's copycat routine by going, "Oh, let's be as hurtful as humanly possible today."
And I wish I were me and not SpongeBob!
What's so great about being a big pink loser? I was never closer to an award than the minute I started copying you.
Jeez, dude, at least Patrick was a flattering copycat. Also, why do you have that costume? Well, anyway, there's not much more wage theft this episode, thankfully, but let's at least end on a bit more of a positive note. Patrick eventually gets what he wanted this whole time. Some recognition.
Trophy delivery!
Another trophy? For doing absolutely nothing longer than anyone else? Patrick! This trophy's for you!
And, all is forgiven and forgotten. Not sure I would personally forget the time my friend got me to burn my hand on purpose and did an offensive impression of me, but I ain't Patrick. Our final theft count this episode is 3, although put an asterisk next to that, because we do learn that SpongeBob probably got charged to work at the Krusty Krab 2 a bunch of times in the past. We just don't actually know how often. But regardless, it's time to move on, and we're hopping to yet another instance of Krabs implementing extremely unreasonable policies. Are you ready, kids? In Mutiny on the Krusty, Mr. Krabs doesn't exactly show his good side. Bikini Bottom gets a severe weather warning, and the dude doesn't care at all. He isn't going to lose business. In fact, he implements a new policy that's certainly interesting, and I'd imagine certainly illegal.
All money brought into this store must be spent here. I'm a tyrant.
Gee, why's Mr. Krabs so crabby today?
We'll find out why he's so crabby in a second, but I'm already adding an instance of wage theft to our count. You saw just now, Mr. Krabs implemented a policy that says, and I quote, "All money brought into the store must be spent here." The lawyers among you may note the wording of that. There's no employee exception. And if you want, for some reason, more overt wage theft, let's just say that Krabs never fails to disappoint. Anyway, back to the question of why Mr. Krabs is crabby, which feels like it'd be racist to say about crab people, but workplace microaggressions aren't the big issue here.
Probably because it's payday.
Payday's been canceled. And I say, no rip current will ever harm the Krusty Krab.
Wow, that's a lot to happen in so short a time, but yeah, canceling payday counts as wage theft. And this next part isn't really related to wage theft, but you'll need some context in a second here. SpongeBob and surprisingly Squidward managed to take back control of the situation, so that's nice.
Squidward, while I steer, you tell everyone we're safe.
Hooray! And surely nobody's recent behavior will come back to bite them in the rear, right? Oh, what? Everyone wants to mutiny and appoint a new leader, and then tie Krabs to the mast in the middle of a severe rip current? Oopsie daisy.
What should we do with this tyrant, Captain Squidward?
Let's tie him to the mast.
So things escalate and Krabs gets the boot. Things mostly go all right with Squidward in charge as captain, then a monster attacks, and that doesn't happen anymore. Suddenly, he's a bit less than thrilled about his new position. Also, given this whole mutiny thing, you really can just do whatever you want in this town with a big enough gang, huh? Including throw your leader at a monster against his will. They should all be put in prison. What a terrible, terrible town. Anyway, the gang needs a new captain, and someone reluctantly returns just in time. I need to talk about more wage theft.
Mr. Krabs, you're alive! Oh, welcome back, Captain. We need a captain, and that's you!
I wouldn't trust Krabs with much. Not my money, not my safety. But I guess he probably is the guy if you need to do some killing. So I guess this makes sense for once. But how's the dude gonna take this request after the whole mutiny thing?
I'm through. And that's coming out of your pay.
Mr. Krabs, this job calls for a dictator like you.
Big me.
Wow, some mid-monster attack wage theft, I guess. Followed by forced groveling. You know, I might just let the monster eat me at this point. Also, it was Krabs who swung into, I presume, help, so he's just being a feckin' nitwad here. Nitwad? We'll rock with it. The begging doesn't work, by the way. SpongeBob has to come up with a different way to convince the guy to help, and after all Krabs is done, I approve.
Do you know what this is, Mr. Krabs? And I am going to tear it up if you don't go back to being the meanie we need.
I don't care.
Of the effort. I approve of the effort. Also, while SpongeBob is a weakling, we can't really blame him. I don't know how I would destroy a dime, and I'm like super jacked. Like, my muscles are like huge. I'm like Chad maxing. Like, luckily he comes up with an alternative plan.
Come on. It starts with a T.
You're a tyrant?
I can't hear you.
A tyrant!
The word is tyrant, and this selfish, mean-spirited, petty tyrant can throw hands. We're about to finish this episode, but let's see how the fight goes, yeah?
Wait a minute. Give me that.
Well, he won. But he also got mostly de-limbed. So, I mean, I was going to say that stinks, but actually that's really the best of both worlds since I have only grown to hate him as I've gone through all this theft. So, hooray! Even if he stole from me, I shouldn't wish harm on him. But he's a crab. We had 5 counts of theft this episode, which is how many fingers I'd close into a fist as I struck my boss if he acted that way. But we gotta hop on to the next episode now. Hope you guys like crushingly unfair quotas and irresponsible submarine pilots. 20,000 Patties Under the Sea is a bit of an odd one in what is already an odd show. Before we get into more Krabs exploitation, you'll definitely need context for this one. This episode starts with SpongeBob and Patrick making an interesting discovery.
I think there's something buried underneath it, and I'm gonna go get some shovels so we can dig it up.
So any Jules Verne fans, as well as anybody with some basic object recognition, can probably guess what they dig up just based on that sort of clip in the episode title. But I ain't a tease, well, at least on this channel. Let's see exactly what they found.
A UFO! Go on, you first.
I kind of love that they call it a UFO, but I'm a little confused because I'm pretty sure that there are cars in older episodes that at least look like submarines. Whatever, this is a cartoon about a sponge. I'll try not to nitpick again. Meanwhile, Mr. Krabs is talking at Squidward and ignoring the guy's genuine suggestions as he tries to figure out ways to rake in more dough.
What if we could bring the Krusty Krab to the customers?
And thus, these two plots can now collide as Mr. Krabs' top employee and his frankly dangerously stupid friend have just found a miraculous flying machine. It floats, but that's like the flying of the ocean. Speaking of collisions...
Can we park here? Look what Patrick and I found. We're gonna use it to go on a long journey.
We'll take the Krusty Krab on the road!
Krabs takes the whole massive property damage actually pretty well, but then immediately forces SpongeBob and Patrick to use their new toy to enact his plot. There isn't a discussion about this or any extra compensation either. I smell the little exploitation counter coming up, and maybe a little, like, flirtatious homoeroticism. Hooray!
Bye, Squidward. Bye, Mr. Krabs. Bye, Squidward.
A traveling restaurant, eh?
Yeah, so SpongeBob and Patrick are both getting ripped off here. Patrick especially, because there's no way Mr. Krabs is paying him for this. Also, I don't have a heterosexual explanation for the way SpongeBob talked about Squidward in that clip. Dude's got a crush for sure. Anyway, the plot then continues with Plankton really salty about this new mobile restaurant idea, and like you saw in that clip earlier, SpongeBob and Patrick are desperate to make this thing really work so that Krabs actually lets SpongeBob keep working for him, and I mean really desperate.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Wait! We'll pay ya.
SpongeBob and Patrick, but mostly SpongeBob, are so afraid of failing Krabs, who apparently actively said that they shouldn't bother coming back if they fail, that they seemingly paid that dude thousands of dollars just to technically be their first mobile customers. But anyway, soon after that, the episode goes off the deep end, kind of literally, I guess.
Oh no, we're bathed in an eerie red light!
Guys, what are we worrying about? They're just falling into the impossibly deep part of the ocean which hides terrors beyond our imagining, in an ancient, rundown submarine, no less. No big deal. Look, there's even a soft mound for them to help break the fall.
Look, Patrick! We floated back up!
Does that count as lucky or unlucky? Like, would it be worse to just smash into the regular ground? Sort of like a frying pan fire situation, I think. Pretty quickly, the pair realized that they did not, in fact, magically rise up into the air again. In fact, things look pretty bleak, but the guys are lucky this sea monster can talk, and so SpongeBob asks maybe the only question that can ever save their lives in this situation.
Are you hungry?
My last meal was 79 years ago. Yes, I'm hungry.
Well, then try one of our Krabby Patties.
Honestly, things go about as well as they possibly could. This giant old critter loves what the boys cook up, considering the alternative is presumably having your submarine dash against the rocks and then being eaten. That's a good enough deal, even besides the fact the monster's got cash.
I'll take 640 of them.
That's basically the episode, although I'll leave you with the very funny way the guys eventually return home. They also tossed all their money as ballast, rendering their whole adventure here meaningless. So that's fun.
We're back, Mr. Krabs!
Counting the clip from the beginning of this video, I count 6 examples of theft in this episode, so long as we assume Patrick should be getting paid, which he definitely should be because he was helping with this whole mobile restaurant thing, it's maybe a little harder to be mad at Krabs compared to my usual mad at Krabs standard, because SpongeBob did admittedly smash a giant hole in the restaurant twice, but moving on. Can anyone say we're definitely not getting overtime for this? I know 2 employees on poverty wages who can. Fear of a Krabby Patty really just hops right into it. With Krabs aiming to adjust the Krusty Krab's hours so it's open 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., which is already unreasonable enough considering it's just SpongeBob and Squidward working there. But a 17-hour-long shift isn't enough, apparently. Not after Krabs learns he's got some competition.
What the? Chum bucket open 23 hours? So, that little piece of flotsam plankton thinks he can stay open longer than me, does he? As of now, the Krusty Krab is open 24 hours!
The Krusty Krab sure seems to go back and forth on whether it's 24 hours or not. It's also worth noting that people hate the chum bucket. Anybody who goes there gets sick and never goes back, so, you don't gotta, copy them or one-up them, Mr. K. There's also no talk of a pay increase, no talk of breaks, and all the other stuff that made this greedy idea before, so I'm sure it'll go really swimmingly.
Krusty Krab is entering day 3 of non-stop service! Let's give it up for day 3!
Hey, Patty, I don't care if we have to stay open till the day after the end of time.
At least SpongeBob loves what he does, but he's still not getting treated fairly. Also, Squidward's mental health is, well, if I was his friend, I'd just be checking up on him regularly over this whole thing is all. But surely they get a day off once a week, at least, right? Well, I think you already know the answer to that.
Day 10 of non-stop service!
Mr. Krabs, can I go home yet? Get these bags under my eyes.
Quit your belly aching, Squidward. You don't hear SpongeBob complaining, do ya?
Krabbypatty.
Fun human fact, after about 3 days of no sleep, we basically start to go insane while also experiencing an urge to sleep so strong, it's basically impossible to stay awake without, drugs or torture. Ain't that a something? This does bring up a question the show doesn't really ask, though. Why would anybody work at the Krusty Krab? Mr. Krabs does not pay well to justify all this at all. But we're not getting an answer to that question. Anyway, turns out that this is all part of an evil plan of Plankton's. Surprise, surprise.
Wait a minute. This isn't some kind of prank, is it?
No.
Good. We'll call you when it's ready, Mr. Langton. We got a big order! Now make me 10,000 patties!
Yeah, so Plankton orders 10,000 Krabby Patties to try and drive SpongeBob bonkers, but Mr. K is so good and reasonable to his employees, surely SpongeBob will get all the resources he needs to handle this massive task, right? If I haven't been sarcastic enough this video, this should be well apparent that this is also sarcasm. Did I say that sentence right? Can we play the clip?
Day 23! Give it up for day
6,654.
Day 30!
10,100.
In that clip, the vile Mr. Krabs says, day 30, this is just slavery, but the slaves technically earn some pennies each day, which they have no time to spend. Also, it seems like SpongeBob just has to work on that grill the whole time straight through. Not sure how anybody else gets their food, honestly. Anyway, things are going to slowly get more incoherent and a bit harder to rate. Check it out.
Anyone know how many days it's been? I lost track.
43.
Right. So 43 days of what basically amounts to slavery to compete with a chum bucket, which is probably the least liked, worst reviewed business in Bikini Bottom, nay, in fiction history. Get out the guillotine, everybody. Putting aside how everyone is even conscious and alive, SpongeBob is really starting to feel the strain at this point. Our boy needs some help.
Oh, hey, Mr. Krabs. When did you get in here?
Got it?
In fact, in a rare W, Krabs actually forces SpongeBob to see a psychiatrist. I mean, I say W, but this is also completely Mr. Krabs' fault, and the dude is literally working his employees into a state of psychosis, so I guess the bar is through the floor right now. Unfortunately, Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob don't do a lot of research about the guy SpongeBob actually ends up seeing. Something's really fishy about this guy.
You think there's hope for me, Doctor?
Hope when I get my hands on that formula.
Yeah, I'll cut you off there. So Plankton spends his time trying to trick the formula out of SpongeBob, but long story short, he, I guess we could say he accidentally just does his job. Because our boy falls asleep and has a dream that basically cures him of his psychosis after he meets a talking burger. Although part of why he gets better might just be because he got to sleep after being awake for 43 days straight.
Now do me a favor and wake up.
It worked! I'm cured!
Huh. Well, Plankton doesn't get his formula and SpongeBob is apparently cured, so all's well that ends well. Well, actually, no. What about the Krusty Krab's horrible hours?
No more 24-hour shifts. Because 23 hours will be plenty. No, seriously.
Yeah, we'll finish this particular episode dinging Krabs twice more for still making SpongeBob and Squidward work basically, literally impossible hours. That puts this episode's final theft count at 88, which is much higher than anything previously. Oh, And for better or worse, probably worse, this next episode is even more of a doozy. Squidward's gonna go lead a strike, and it's gonna go epically. This video so far hasn't been putting this stuff in any particular order, but Squid on strike probably shows Mr. Krabs at his worst when it comes to treating his employees poorly. Emphasis on poorly. The episode starts off already on a pretty bad note.
Mr. Squidward!
Wow.
What's with all this change nonsense?
Surely Mr. Krabs knows what change is, right? This dude needs to be investigated by the FCC, BBB, whatever other set of letters we can throw at him. CPS. But don't worry, as has so often been true this video, it's gonna get way worse.
Here's your check.
I can't accept your money, Mr. Krabs. Grilling is my passion.
What is this? You're making me pay you to stand at the cash register?
Yes, Squidward is getting billed $21, with some of the highlights being a $1 charge for breathing, a $10 charge for standing, which is almost literally his job, and the cherry on top of all this, a $2 charge for existing. And how do you think the ever-positive Sponge on the team is going to react to all this? He's too pure for this world.
Here you go, Mr. K.
What do you think you're doing?
I'm just giving Mr. Krabs the money I owe him.
I'm going to count the wage theft because Krabs is actively trying to steal and literally build them both, but luckily Squidward is standing up for himself. That's right, it's striking time, and SpongeBob gets excited about it. Maybe a little too excited.
Me and Squidward are gonna go on strike.
You mean you're gonna make picket signs? And you're gonna demand me respect?
No! Squidward! You didn't tell me I was gonna get fired!
Was on the fence about dinging Krabs for firing his striking workers. Mean move, for sure. But, like, not really stealing. Feel free to sharpen your guillotines for the old man. It's just not the specific thing I'm looking for this video. Anyway, most of the episode is Squidward trying to teach SpongeBob how to strike while Krabs pretends he's not bothered as his business basically falls apart. Who breaks first? Everyone.
I gotta beg Mr. Krabs for my job back.
Oh, I was just in the neighborhood and beg you to come back to work. The Krusty Krab is a wreck.
With my very relatable job of YouTube content creator, I fancy myself a man of the people, so I'm naturally Team Strikers this episode. So it seems things are going well, yeah? In fact, SpongeBob around the same time has started to really get into the swing of being a real striker.
I will restore the working man to his rightful glory. Gnaw at the ankles of big business. Squidward will be so proud.
So I do appreciate the enthusiasm and all. It's not that I'm necessarily against smashing the establishments of the bourgeoisie. I'm pretty based like that. But it does feel like this might readjust Squidward's negotiating position, doesn't it?
I'll see it work.
SpongeBob, what have you done?
I dismantled the establishment. Now we'll get our jobs back for sure.
Yeah, so a little tip for anybody striking out there, if you do want to improve your place of work, you should make sure you have a place of work by the end of whatever else you decide to do. This cannot end well. In fact, you're about to see exactly why this episode sticks out even among all of Krabs' other crimes. In fact, he's so mad about what happened, he even falls to pieces.
In order to pay off these damages, you two are gonna work for me forever!
Yahoo! The strike worked, Squidward. We got our jobs back. Forever! 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 Forever!
One eternity later.
That's right, Mr. Krabs rightfully wants the two to pay him back for literally destroying the building. But he says they have to work forever to pay it back, and we're shown in the time skip there, they literally work even into the afterlife. For context, even if the business cost a massive $1 million to fix and the two got paid an abysmal $10K a year for all the work they do, that'd still be about 50 years to pay it back, not forever. Anyways, that means the final theft count in this final episode on my list, finally, is 2 plus infinity. But what's our final total among all the episodes I've talked about? Yep, that's a final count of 111, if I counted right. Plus an eternity on top of that. Bikini Bottom needs to start reading some marks, y'all. Some corral marks. Or, you know, at the very least, implement some worker laws. And as I sharpen my pitchfork and start preparing to visit a certain crab, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've got other stuff about your favorite sponge and plenty of other vids besides, so I welcome you to see what I got and even comment if there's anything specific you'd love to see me talk about. As always, guys, thank you for watching.